Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
You're listening to Keek on the Mic.
Keek on the Mic.
A podcast all about the Chicago Bears. This podcast starts right now.
Keek on the Mic.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before we get this episode started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page at Keek on the Mic. Make sure you share this podcast with all the Bears fans that you know, and you'll also be able to listen to this episode of Keek on the Mic on Apple Podcasts. So, Bears fans, it is finally official. Carson Wentz has been traded, but not to the Chicago Bears, to the Colts. It's official as of this morning. Carson Wentz traded to the Colts for a 2021 third and a 2022 second that can turn into a first as long as Carson Wentz plays 75% of the snaps. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I was super pumped to hear about this news because I didn't want Carson Wentz, and I know a lot of Bears fans will agree with me. It wasn't going to work. We didn't want to be responsible for fixing Carson Wentz. I think he ended up in a great spot with the Colts. There's two reasons that I have that the Bears actually dodged the bullet here. One, he didn't want to play for Chicago. There was rumors going around that he wanted nothing to do with the Chicago Bears train wreck, if you want to call it that. So that's his opinion, whatever. 2, our offensive line is not as good as the Colts. The Colts were a top 10 unit, even though they had a little bit of injuries last season. And Carson Wentz last year with the Eagles got sacked 50 times. Our offensive line is not really set up quite yet. We're getting there. We have some pieces, but it could still use a lot of work. So those are the two reasons why I think the Bears dodged a bullet on Carson Wentz. I know as of now, the Chicago Bears are still looking for their next quarterback to run this franchise, but I wasn't really down to hand the keys over to Carson Wentz. So the question that I wanted to ask you guys is what's next for the Chicago Bears? And I know that the QB situation is a big deal this offseason, and the Bears have been in every single quarterback rumor to start this offseason. Some of the quarterbacks that are still out there that the Bears may be interested in or may be willing to trade for is Sam Darnold from the Jets, Derek Carr, Desean Watson, Dak Prescott. And the reason why I put Dak Prescott on here is because he'll probably likely be franchise tagged, meaning that if we wanted him, we may have to trade for him if the Cowboys were willing to trade Dak Prescott. So going through these quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, he's young. Maybe he has a little bit of upside. I'm a little concerned about maybe the Jets kind of broke him a little bit. So that's my concern. Derek Carr, he's 29. That would probably be the better option for the Chicago Bears. I think it fits if we were able to trade for Derek Carr. But I don't know if I want to give up first-round picks. I'd rather just keep our first-round picks and maybe build our draft capital and draft a quarterback in the draft. Of course, you have Desean Watson. That's highly unlikely because it seems like the Texans want to actually keep Desean Watson even though he wants out. And even if they do decide to trade him, I'm just not sure if he will end up in Chicago. Crazy things happen. But I'm just not sure if Desean Watson will end up in Chicago at the end of the day. So at this point, here's the 3 things I would really like to see the Chicago Bears do. Number 1, build the offensive line. I've been saying this from day one. Obviously, quarterback is the biggest concern. But besides that, we need to build the offensive line for our next quarterback so our quarterback can stay upright, make some big plays for the Chicago Bears offense. Number 2, maximize your draft capital. I know that we're going to be trying to trade away our picks to get our next quarterback, but how about we just sit back, maybe just take a quarterback in this year's draft, trade away some of our assets, get some more draft capital, get younger, get better, and hopefully overall help the franchise as a whole. And number 3, I just said it, select a quarterback in the 2021 draft. If you can't get any of these guys that I just listed, you might as well just get some draft capital and select your quarterback in the 2021 draft. At this point, it's hard to imagine unless a huge trade happens, the Bears actually getting a guy like Watson, Carr, or even Dak Prescott. So that's why I'm just saying it may be time just to focus on the draft and draft your next franchise quarterback in this year's draft. And as much as it sucks, because personally I do want to see the Bears win now, but I'm more focused on the long haul, like looking at the bigger picture here. Yeah, everyone wants to win now. We know that. But I think it's time for the Bears to build for the future and not just looking at building right now. And I know a lot of you guys may think I'm crazy, but we do have to start thinking at the future. Most likely this is going to be Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace's last season, so they can at least do us a favor. If they can't get any of these quarterbacks, go get us our next franchise quarterback so we can start building for the future. So I want to ask you guys this. Who do you think will be the Bears starting quarterback at the start of the 2021 season? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But before we end this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page at Keek on the Mic. Make sure you share this podcast with all the Bears fans that you know. I'll be here all season long, so make sure you share this podcast, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and that would be a huge favor to me. But other than that, I'll catch you guys for all new Bears episode right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys.
This is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy is Benny Hunter. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.